Good afternoon, it's John Franco checking in again. It's November 21st and we got about a month to go for the first phase of this two-phase project, and things are proceeding well. So the original plan was to uncover 4 of the cherubs to get a sense of what they look like, and at that time we didn't really know how difficult or easy that was going to be, and the plan was to actually replicate the rest of them to sort of match the ones that we'd uncovered. But because of our success in removing the overpaint and the fact that each of the cherubs are individuals, we've decided to uncover all of the cherubs, which is really fantastic. The question of why they're individuals rather than just sort of copies of each other is a really fascinating one. I think John Gibbs was actually interested in just testing his hand at doing different poses and arrangements of the way the wings are and the hair and the facial expressions, some looking up, some looking down, some looking across. And I think that gives it, the decorations, a much more interesting and rhythmic kind of pattern over the surfaces of the walls. So we have uncovered 6 and we have 2 more to go, which we will be getting on next week. And as we're doing that, we are now starting to do the actual restoration of the ones we have uncovered, so repairing damages and old losses that occurred over the years. So after we've removed all the overpaint that we can safely get off the surfaces of the murals, the next step is basically to apply what we call an isolating layer of varnish. It's not something terribly shiny, it's just a layer we put on there to basically create a kind of not a barrier, but a separation between the original surfaces and our work, our restoration. And that varnish is a very stable material. It doesn't yellow, it's easy to remove in the future. And that prepares it basically for us to be able to go in and start doing the in-painting, retouching, whichever word you want to use, which basically is in-painting the losses. And in that case also, we're not using oil paint or anything like that we won't be able to get off in the future, because we want to make that easy for somebody if they need to do that in the future. We're using these synthetic conservation grade pigments that really match and mimic the colors and the quality of the oil paint on the surfaces. And again, just like the varnish, are very easy to remove in the future. There's quite a variability between the best preserved and the worst ones. Some areas have suffered from water infiltration, it's pretty clear. Some of them in the past have received restoration already. That's not a surprise for something that's almost 300 years old. It's amazing how much is still there, which is really great. The one to the right of Howard, when you're looking at Howard, is really quite well preserved. And we're thinking some across the way are also in really good shape. So one of the interesting questions and challenges that we have is how to integrate the cornice above the cherubs and the trim that goes between the cherubs and the festoons. They're all wood. And there's a sense that in the records that a lot of the church had a kind of a faux stone colored look, it's described as. And we have found multiple restoration layers on those cornices and the architectural trim. And we've applied some colors just to give the vestry an option of considering some of those colors. But after much discussion and looking at it, we've decided to go with probably the earliest color that we can identify on that trim, which is kind of a color much like the color of the wings and the faces of the cherubs, kind of a beige kind of tan color, much like stonework. And we're going to do a trial actually next week, it looks like, a larger one to incorporate that into the clean portions that we've done and restored areas, and give us another chance to assess that and see if that's the direction we want to go on. But the idea is to integrate all the architecture and the decorative murals into one thing. It's going to be a unified appearance, so it doesn't look like these little cutouts in the midst of white paint. So in terms of our work schedule, we have about another month to go, and the majority of that now is going to be, as I mentioned before, getting the overpaint off the last 2 on this portion of the project, half of the church, the back half, and completing by Christmas. Staging will come down, and then in the new year, probably late January, early February, staging will go back in, and we will continue with the work.